Mill has not seen newborn Lo in 8 weeks because her feelings are hurt. When I was still pregnant, I begged my DH to sit down and speak to his mom about boundaries. She is overbearing, judgmental, and just generally nosy. She also can't handle any type of negative emotion, which results in tantrums, running away from problems, and cold shoulder punishments. We had a major blowout years ago with her as a newlywed couple, with her not respecting our boundaries. Things smoothed over, but they've never been the same. To put it nicely, she lives 30 minutes away and I'm okay with seeing her once a year. Anyway, DH kept putting off talking to his mom because she always cries and goes on a tirade, ending with him always feeling guilty and then being annoyed that he falls for her tantrums. I originally wanted him to sit down with her because she made me uncomfortable through my whole pregnancy. Always commented on my body rudely. Put her hands on my bump without consent and would get upset that baby wouldn't move for grandma. One time we went out for dinner and instead of greeting me, she commented on my body immediately. We visited her maybe once or twice a month and all she ever talked about was breastfeeding, and how her boobs would get rock hard from producing so much milk. She started asking me about my boobs being hard and milk let down when I was less than 20 weeks pregnant. She basically treated me like an incubator, never directly asking me about how I was doing, only DH. Lo came a month early, which is another reason DH didn't talk to his mom. He procrastinated long enough. She only saw Lo twice the first week and hasn't since. What? Because after we came home from the hospital I was having issues with breastfeeding. From latching to milk letdown and just generally bonding and getting comfortable, it was a lot. She came by to help because we literally had nothing ready. What did she do all day? Criticize the way I held and fed my baby. Despite doing it exactly the way the lactation specialist showed me. It got to the point where my DH firmly told her I was doing it right. She asked multiple times about my milk down when I was told it could take a week. And while I was hot, sweaty, exhausted, still bleeding, cramping, feeling like a failure over breastfeeding, all she did was look at me and criticize me and talk about how successful she was with breastfeeding. It was absolute torture and I broke down the next day. We only asked my mom to come over for the rest of the week, even though Mill offered to come in the evenings to help. Later that week my DH did talk to her, to stop talking about breastfeeding, and the type of help we needed. Well, she got passive aggressive and sent me a "sorry you feel that way" text apology. I ended up unloading on her on why she made me uncomfortable. I didn't even curse her out, just plainly laid it out her. I ended it with, "Please don't reply to this, I don't want to have a conversation. I don't need any more apologies. I know you're not doing things on purpose. And I do appreciate the different ways in which you help us. Right now I just need rest." So now my Lo is 9 weeks old and grandma missed out on the newborn stage. She doesn't even have a picture with Lo. Which in retrospect I don't feel bad, that way she can't make giant holier than those self-praising best grandma in the world posts about herself. DH has tried reaching out several times and has just been met with cold responses. She complains to my Sil, who she talks all the time. However, to our knowledge she has not intentions of reaching out to us because she's not ready. Apparently we hurt her by making her feel unappreciated, DH not communicating with her enough, and she's hurt that I didn't feel comfortable and wanted privacy breastfeeding in my own home. This woman is so ridiculous. I ended up blocking her number so I don't actually go off on her. I also blocked her from seeing my IG stories online to put her on an information diet with Lo. She can still see my posts and she hasn't liked any of them with Lo. My current bet with DH is that she'll come around in October-November with the holidays coming. She has empty nest, in menopause denial, and is just generally lonely as she's never married and isn't dating. Comment. See how peaceful and C can be? I don't think she deserves a photo of Lo until she starts respecting boundaries. Hope you make plans for the holidays before she starts sniffing around again. I so feel you. I am so sorry your Mill ruined your first days as parents. H invited his mother to help out after DD was born because, in true JNO fashion, she convinced him that 2 college graduates who were almost 30 would not know how to take care of an infant. 10 days of pure torture, topped off with Mill explaining over the phone my breastfeeding problems to OBGYN Phil, including a graphic description of my breast anatomy. DH and I were in the room. Thank God Phil passed away before I had to ever see him in person again. Bless her heart, she just could not fathom why we did not invite her back to help when DS was born. She came at 6 weeks and it was only about 85% as bad. This isn't about you or Lo. It's not about breastfeeding or about DH. This is about control, narcissism, and her wanting you to grovel and be uncomfortable because she's uncomfortable. She's not getting her way and she's not the center of attention. Keep her away from you as much as possible because she isn't going to be bringing anything positive into your life or into Lo's life. That little nagging voice that is tearing at you to care even though you don't is something that she put there on purpose to bother you and guilt you. She's clutching at any control she can find, and right now that's her staying away because you hurt her feelings by having totally reasonable expectations and boundaries. Ugh, I remember how hard it was for me to not be able to breastfeed. Over a month of trying, my grandma looked at me and said, "Baby, it's not going to happen. You're not less of a mother either, some of us just can't breastfeed. Stop beating yourself up." I would have been a hot ass mess if someone said the things this poor woman has been called. Then again, my grandma would have probably kicked their ass. LOL, she was extremely overprotective when it came to me and her great-grandson. If it weren't for her, I would have never got any sleep. When the trash takes itself out, just let it go. Don't chase her, just enjoy the respite. She'll come running once she realizes you have stopped begging, and you can have a conversation about boundaries then, or not. Maybe you will just choose to continue limited contact. Next story 2. How do I tell my BF once I deliver I don't want his mother at my house for at least the first 2 weeks? Advice wanted. So a backstory. I went to rehab for 34 days when I was about 3 months pregnant for alcohol and cigarettes mainly. Towards the end of his stay, I got into an argument with my mom and left to my BF's house to live with them. Just him and his mom. My BF is a huge mama's boy. In his eyes his mother can never do any wrong, and it's so annoying. Anyways, I started getting uncomfortable living with her because she has no boundaries, and in her mind she's just being nice and helpful, but in reality she's doing more harm than good. A couple examples. My BF has always been spoiled by his mother. Whatever he wants she gets. She bought him an Xbox for his 30th birthday. The one she bought at the time did not fully work, so he had to return it and get a new one. She told me to go pick it up for him because she wanted him to relax and unwind when he gets out of rehab. While I'm over here thinking to myself, no. I need him to get off his ass and go to work, not pick his feet up and play video games. At the time I was still working full-time while pregnant, and my BF had already gone 6 months without being employed. She would deposit money into his account whenever he'll tell her he's running low on cash. He mainly used that money on alcohol and cigarettes. Personally, my mother would never give me money to let me sit on my ass and support my addiction. She'll make me get up and get a job. Another thing, she constantly cooks and cleans up after him. She comes in and out of his room as she pleases, and when I tried confronting my BF about it, he saw nothing wrong with it. She would do his laundry for him, she still buys him shoes and undershirts, and she pays all the bills in the house. He does help when she asks him to, but she never really does. Oh, and they are also hoarders. Now, I will say they are very nice people. My BF is a sweetheart and his mother is a very nice older woman, but my BF is just so used to being spoiled by her, and she's too invested in her kids' relationships. While my BF was in rehab, I sat her down one-on-one and let it all out. I told her I wanted to turn the basement into as close as a studio apartment as possible because I don't want to be so close to her room when the baby comes. I told her I would like to set some boundaries in our relationship. Her room would have literally been in between our room and the baby's room. Like, she would have literally been in the middle, and I know me. I'm going to want privacy because I'm going to be in a lot of pain and extremely vulnerable because I'm having a C-section. I do not feel comfortable being exposed or anything in front of her. And my BF doesn't understand that. After letting her know that she basically babies her son too much and she needs to give him some space and room for him to work on his independence since we're about to have a child, she needs to stop doing everything for him. I literally told her that she does everything a wife should be doing for him except have XYZ with him. He's never going to want to leave the house. She obviously got defensive and started calling me selfish and said no to us turning their basement into one big room for us. I told her if we can't move into the basement then I'm going back home. She got pissed and told me that the last person that gave her an alternative she was divorcing him within a week. She said no one is going to come in her house and threatened to leave with her grandchild. She also started telling me that I emasculate her son when I tell him I don't need him to have this baby. He wanted me to abort the baby from the beginning. I made it clear to him I don't need him and he can leave anytime he wants. This whole pregnancy has been extremely hard for me. I ended up leaving and breaking up with him the same day he got out of rehab because I couldn't take him or his mother anymore. He ended up relapsing and blamed me for it. His mother ended up leaving me a voicemail. I had blocked her, telling me that I don't love him, that I'm immature for not coming to her, that I'm just like my mother, and just basically fighting her son's battles for him. I am now 32 weeks pregnant and my BF and I are in a better place. Still working on things, but definitely in a better place than where we were in the beginning of my pregnancy. Since that day I left his house, I've been living with my mom and I'm staying there. I refuse to even spend the night at his house if his mom will be there. I try to avoid her at all cost and barely even speak to her. TBH, I cringe when I hear her voice. I don't know if it's a pregnancy thing, but I do not want to be around her. She annoys the out of me. When I deliver, I don't want any visitors from mine or his family. I just want me and him there. I planned on telling the nurses and staff there that under no circumstances do I want anyone except my BF and medical staff to be allowed in my room during my stay there. I don't know how to tell him that once I go home, I don't want his mother/family at my house for the first 2 weeks. I'm going to be in a lot of pain, leaking, bleeding, sleep deprived, trying to bond with my baby, breastfeeding, etc. that I really don't want to deal with people. I also plan on telling my family and friends the same thing. I want no visitors after I deliver. I would like some time to heal and shower and stuff like that. I feel like if I tell him that I would like to wait 2 weeks at least before his mother/family can meet our baby, he is going to flip out and say that I'm just being a bitch and only want my family to be around the baby. Which is not the case, but I can't do anything about the people I live with. I live with my mom, younger brother, and elderly grandmother. My mom plans on taking some time off to help with the baby when I deliver, but obviously I feel more comfortable with mine rather than his. So I don't know what to do. I don't know how to tell him without him thinking it's a personal thing towards his mom/family. Comment. Well, there are a few things that make me think that you might have been at least in the beginning. You were living for free in their house. You do not get to tell them to rearrange their living space for you. When you are in your own home, you can enforce any boundary you want. Now that you are living with your own family, you can easily set boundaries, give a timeline for his family to visit, etc. Also, since your BF was not keen on having the baby in the beginning, he does not get to dictate who you share your baby with and when they come to visit. One point here though. Since you live under your mom's roof, it will be a little tricky enforcing boundaries with her, since you will probably even need some help with the baby while you recover from your C-section. If you want complete freedom to enforce boundaries, you might have to consider getting your own place or co-lease with your BF, if he has found a job already, once you recover from your delivery. I would suggest getting a studio apartment on your own, not even with your BF. That way if things get bad with him/his mother, you still have your own place, you can just kick them out. You will also have full control over who gets to see your baby and when, and his mother can't force herself in. I hope things get better for you and you have a drama-free delivery. Yikes, girl. Get away from them ASAP. The description of your BF is making me cringe more than the mom. He needs to grow up and start acting like an adult. In no way, and I mean no way, is it reasonable for a 27 to 30-year-old to be unemployed. Unless they are physically incapable or in graduate school, which in this scenario isn't the case. I understand you want privacy, but you cannot demand things in other people's homes. That is the number one problem here. Stay out from under her wing and she doesn't have power over you. You saw this after simply requesting for privacy after birth, and she had an uproar. Imagine other things in life? Yikes. It's a perfectly reasonable request seeing as you are having a C-section and that takes longer to recover from. You say things have been better, does that mean he got a job? If not, then nothing has changed and nothing ever will. He never wanted the baby, so don't worry yourself in the slightest about what he thinks. You're the one going through the trauma of giving birth. Honestly, I don't know why you're with him. I think you need to get well away from his mother. Start off by telling him you don't like his mother, you don't have a relationship with his mother, and you don't ever want to have a relationship with his mother. Then, tell him you are living in your mother's home and his mother is not welcome there. When you are recovered from surgery, you have gotten into a successful routine with breastfeeding and are feeling up to going out with the baby for short visits, the three of you can meet his mother somewhere public so that she can meet the baby and spend some supervised time with the baby. When he pitches a fit about any or all of this, inform him that as you aren't married, who gets to visit you and the baby in the hospital is your decision alone. Make it clear that if he's not on board with how you want to deal with his family, you don't have any need for him to be in the hospital when you have the baby, and you will make sure everyone at the hospital knows he will not be allowed in to see you or the baby. Remind him he gave up any rights to the baby when he told you to have an abortion. There's a lot to unpack here. Do you want him to raise your child with you? If yes, the two of you need therapy to work out his enmeshment issues and to learn how to set boundaries. You may just need to tell him outright that you don't want her there, but I would recommend making him read the Lemon-Sized Clots essay. You need to dive it home that this isn't about her and her grandchild, it's about you healing. It's not selfish to want to heal in peace. Also, look up grandparent rights in your state. Make sure she had no case to file for them.